Would you like to understand a very important benefit of self-consciousness, self-reflection? Then listen to this entire video where I describe how this benefit can help your life and how it even comes to fruition in the first place. Now, self-reflection, or I would say self-introspection, is, I believe, the skill to sort of observe what's going on in your head, your thoughts. And it's a relatively sort of popular trend in regards to meditation, teaching, self-reflection, and it is sort of also considered a good soft skill, I think, being able to self-reflect. Now, I was thinking the other day, and I recently realized I have become more self-reflective in the last month or 2 months. And I was trying to figure out how have I become it, or more importantly, how has this sort of manifested itself? And I could sort of explain it like this. Let's say this is you, my fist is you as a being. And when you're on a low level of self-reflection, you don't really reflect a lot and your ability to is quite low. All you see around you, well, all you really see is this fist. It's just the being, that's all you see and all you're really aware of. Now, when you become more self-reflective, you sort of open up this layer around yourself, which you can observe, and the layer entails your thoughts and your behavior. And now you can see these thoughts and behaviors from outside. You take like a step out, you have this extra layer to yourself. And you add a dimension to your self-reflection. You can see your thoughts and behaviors from a new dimension. And so the more self-reflective you become, the more dimensions lie in your toolbox, your toolbox ability to sort of observe yourself. And it's the more self-reflective or better at self-reflection you become, sort of self-consciousness, the more layers you can see around you, which are part of you. And you can analyze how a thought springs in your mind, why it springs to your mind, and how or why you behave in a certain way from added dimensions. And what is connected to this sort of idea of multi-dimensionality is complexity. You are able to understand something that is more complex in regards to your being and your existence. You are able to understand why you behave in a certain way, and that is complex because there are many variables that might lead to you acting out a certain behavior. Also, to think, there may be underlying instincts or resentments, emotions that drive a thought. And when you become more self-reflective, you are able to observe it at a different perspective that lets you understand it. And that is very useful. Now, the benefit here is that you are able to map out reality better because you have a processor, your brain, which runs in a more sophisticated way. You can process more variables, which makes your brain, your processor, more powerful, more strong, and more able to see the truth in life or what's really going on. And you might ask, okay, well, I mean, life is very, very complex, and there are so many variables that you really can't incorporate in your brain because you are quite limited. But I do think the more you train your self-consciousness and self-reflection, the more sophisticated your brain becomes, and your ability to incorporate, hence you are more able to incorporate a higher number of variables into your sort of interpretation tool of life. That's extremely useful. Now, this is very much connected with, I think, well, the power or the sort of the divinity, the divine aspect of the I, also the reason why the eye sits on top of the triangle, the pyramid. It's he or she who is most able to see rises to the top of any hierarchy. And that is because hierarchies are environments that are continually adapting, because that is it's a force that is continually changing the environment. And depending on the environment, you have characteristics which will determine whether you are able to climb a hierarchy, whether you play a game successfully or not. Like, the rules might change, and if you're not conscious, you don't recognize that the environment is changing, and you sink down in the hierarchy. But if your eye is open, you are conscious, then you recognize changes in the environment, and you are able to adapt. Well, you may not be able, but you tick the sort of the fundamental box that is necessary in order to change, because without the consciousness, there is no change in yourself, let's say. So this is why it's so useful to be conscious, because you are able to adapt yourself then, and your sort of reality processing tool in your brain is more sophisticated, and you can map out reality more accurately, and that's extremely, extremely useful. And I've reflected the last few months where I feel like I have been able to add a new dimension to my self-reflection, that I understand myself more. I have a better feeling for who I am as a person, and that is very valuable. Very valuable. And I wish to extend that even more then. So in conclusion, the benefit of increased self-consciousness or self-reflection is that you add dimensions to your interpretation of reality, and more importantly of yourself and your thoughts and behaviors. And that's very useful because it enables you to climb any hierarchy in life, the likelihood of you being able to climb any hierarchy in life. And that's very important also because depending on where you lie in a hierarchy, your success of survival, whatever you want to call that, goes up or down depending on where you lie. So that's very important. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, how to reduce suffering in life, and also dating. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for listening.